Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, August 3rd. I'm Laura Cornfield, and this is IBA News, broadcasting from Jerusalem. We open with a tragic traffic accident overnight in the north of the country on Highway 4 near the Furadis Junction. Two sisters from Jaffa, identified as Olga Eshkar and Angelika Naim, both in their 30s, and Naim's 2-year-old daughter, were killed in a deadly collision between a truck and a private vehicle. The husbands of the two sisters were in the front seats and were seriously injured, one of whom is in critical condition. The victims will be buried a short time from now in the Jaffa cemetery. It appears that the family was driving back home from a wedding in Yokneam on Highway 70 when the truck coming from the direction of Zichron Yaakov to Haifa slammed into the side of the vehicle. Eshkar was declared dead at the scene, while the other two victims were taken to hospital, where they later succumbed to their wounds. Police suspect the driver of the truck, 62-year-old Kamal Diab from Haifa, who has a long record of traffic violations, ran a red light and may have been under the influence of drugs. His remand has been extended until Friday. The Knesset is today wrapping up its summer session with a stormy debate focused on the issue of who controls the media. IBA's political reporter Kalev Ben-David joins me in the studio with all the details. Kalev?
Thanks, Laura. With just hours to go before their summer break, Knesset members gathered for the final vote on the revisions for the public broadcasting law, which established a new media corporation to replace the Israel Broadcasting Authority. The process has spurred debate over whether Prime Minister Netanyahu and other politicians are seeking to influence the news content of a new broadcasting corporation or sabotage it. Netanyahu responded to the accusations from the Knesset podium, saying the left was engaging in demagoguery by once again labeling its opponents as fascists. On a day marking the legacy of Zionist pioneer Vladimir Jabotinsky, Netanyahu cited Jabotinsky's belief in free markets as inspiration for what he views as his own efforts to liberalize Israel's media sector. The Knesset plenum will later vote on the second and third reading of the public broadcasting bill, but only after more fierce argument over political influence in the media. There was more drama in the Knesset yesterday when Prime Minister Netanyahu expelled Likud MK Oren Hazan, who has already been at the center of several controversies from the State Controller Committee. Hazan earned Netanyahu's wrath after declaring his support for a commission to examine the government's conduct of the 2014 Gaza war against Hamas, Operation Protective Edge. Hazan said the prime minister was trying to silence any dissent of his policies within his own party. The freshman lawmaker is now certain to get a chilly reception from his fellow Likud MKs when the Knesset resumes for its autumn session in October. Laura?
Thanks, Kalev. Popular Israeli rapper Yoav Eliassi, more commonly known by his stage name The Shadow, has signed up with the Likud party today under the auspices of the controversial freshman lawmaker Oren Hazan. The 38-year-old musician, who has over 250,000 followers on social media, has gained notoriety for his hardline provocative posts, which often are considered discriminatory towards the Arab population and left-wing figures. MK Hazan says he is assured that Eliassi's joining will prove to be a tremendous asset to the Likud party and that in the future his addition may even garner 5 seats in the Knesset, potentially replacing some current lawmakers. For his part, Eliassi promised to draft his own followers, known as the Shadow's Lions, to form a so-called Likud Guard. Controversy is brewing surrounding recent reports that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas had intervened in the last Israeli elections, raising the possibility that Prime Minister Netanyahu's highly criticized comments in which he said the Arabs were coming out to vote in droves were actually accurate. Speaking in an interview with Kol Yisrael in Arabic, Nazareth Mayor Eli Salam confirmed that in the afternoon of election day, when voter turnout in the city appeared to be low, he received a phone call from Abbas, who urged him to encourage Nazareth residents to go out and vote for the joint Arab list. Salam said he agreed to the call and eventually managed to get the voter turnout up to 90% within a matter of hours. The Likud party responded to the reports by saying, "Those of you who expect the left to embark on a campaign to condemn Abbas's blatant interference with the Israeli elections, we recommend that you don't hold your breath." Abbas's senior advisor, Elias Zaniri, denied Abbas ever made such a phone call and that the Nazareth mayor should attribute the high voter turnout to himself alone. The government is planning to spend billions of shekels on a program to spur economic development in Israeli Arab communities. IBA's Kalev Ben David spoke today with Eli Groner, the American-born Director General of the Prime Minister's office, about the plan and asked him if it can succeed despite Netanyahu's ideological differences with Israeli Arab leaders. Groner also spoke about other economic development policies he is helping to shape.
The uniqueness to this plan, and this really is the most ambitious plan for the Arab sector, I think probably since the establishment of the State of Israel, is that we are requiring the ministries or the various government ministries to actually allocate funds towards the Arab sector. So instead of taking money and funneling it towards the municipalities and not knowing whether it will be good or whether it won't be good, we're actually going directly. We're bypassing the municipalities and going directly. The education ministry has to build schools has to build a certain percentage of schools for the Arab sector. The culture ministry and sports has to build a certain percentage of all the soccer fields that will be built in Israel in Arab communities, et cetera, for all. Industrial zones from the Ministry of the Economy have to build a certain percentage of those industrial zones that will be built over the next 5 years in the Arab sector. Meaning we've built it in, we've basically made it a structured forcing of the ministries to invest in the Arab community, and we're doing this in a way that we feel will benefit Israel's Arab citizens.
The Prime Minister's political relationship with the Arab community has been problematic. Can this program succeed given these difficulties?
I think it's important to distinguish between comments that were made and were interpreted one way or interpreted another way and actual facts on the ground. At the end of the day, I think the Israeli Arabs, what they want is to increase their standard of living. They want more security. They want law and order in their communities, and they want a better life for their children. And that's what the Prime Minister is bringing. I think all the other commentary and one-off comments that are made here and there is just noise.
The government recently took a decision to repeal a law that makes it mandatory for the core curriculum to be taught in ultra-Orthodox schools. How is the government going to integrate the ultra-Orthodox sector more in the economy while taking measures such as this?
So that's a very fair question, Kalev. The decision that was passed by the government a couple weeks ago was based on both being pragmatic without losing focus of what we really want to do, which is integrate Haredim into integrating the ultra-Orthodox into society. What we saw was that when the ultra-Orthodox were forced to do certain things, it built up resistance. And if we look at what we did a few years ago, what was done to force them to go into the army, it actually reduced their going into the army. When you force them to learn certain things, it actually reduces and builds walls of resistance. At the end of the day, people will learn certain skills and people will integrate into society when they want to. And the best way to encourage that is not by force, but by encouraging them to see that the opportunities here are great. And once the ultra-Orthodox understand that they can integrate into society and remain ultra-Orthodox, like they're doing in the army, like they're doing in certain places of work across the country, they'll be more and more encouraged. At the end of the day, the ultra-Orthodox don't want to collectively live in poverty. They understand that there's a structural problem and they want to change it. And the best way to change it is under the radar, quietly, integration on the ground, and we're seeing that happen. We really are seeing that happen. It's not just a phrase, it's really happening.
Eli, you've been very involved in the plans to develop Israel's natural gas resources. When are Israelis going to start seeing the benefits of offshore gas fields such as Leviathan?
Develop Leviathan will take probably close to 4 years from the moment we approved the gas framework a few months ago till gas will start flowing. But we're going to start seeing benefits already in 2018, because what you're going to see is the development of the field is going to create a whole new industry of engineers, of upstream engineers and upstream industry. You're going to see investment. In order to develop the field, there's billions and billions of dollars that need to be invested in the country. This is direct investment into Israel. We've already seen our relationships in the region strengthen as a result of this finding and a result of this decision to develop offshore. That was a major factor in a lot of our conversations with a lot of our neighbors that both are above the radar and below the radar. So those sort of diplomatic benefits also trickle down to citizens.
One of the key elements in developing export from these gas fields is a planned gas pipeline to Turkey. Given the recent political instability in there, is a Turkish pipeline still an option?
Yes, obviously it's complicated. Obviously there's been a lot of change in Turkey over the last few weeks. But at the end of the day, if you're asking, is the pipeline still on the table, the answer is yes.
A border police officer operating in Hebron has been suspended from duty after footage released by B'Tselem shows him confiscating a bicycle from an 8-year-old Palestinian girl. In the clip, believed to be from last month, a guard chases 8-year-old Anwar Bokan before pinning her bike down with his foot. An officer then approaches and the girl runs away. He then walks away with the bike and appears to discard it in the bushes. The border police said the video had been forwarded to the Justice Ministry's Police Internal Investigations Department. According to B'Tselem, the girl was playing on a section of the El Ibrahimi street in Hebron, which it claims the military does not allow Palestinians to use, a claim the IDF denies. As of today, you may be caught on tape by the police. A new pilot program has been launched, providing police officers with wearable video cameras designed to capture arrests and initial interrogations on camera. The project will at first be implemented at 26 police stations across the country and be conducted by patrol officers and traffic police. The move comes in the wake of a series of violent incidents in which police behaved with excessive force against suspects, and particularly in response to protests by local Ethiopian residents against alleged abusive police behavior towards members of their community. In the largest corporate acquisition ever made by an Israeli company, Teva Pharmaceuticals has officially completed the buying of Dublin-based allergen generics for no less than $40.5 billion. Teva is already one of the world's largest drug manufacturers, and the acquisition of Allergen is slated to generate new avenues of revenue for the company. Under the agreement, Teva will acquire Allergen's global generics business, including its generics research and development units, its international over-the-counter commercial unit, and manufacturing operations. Prime Minister Netanyahu hailed the Teva deal, saying it highlighted Israel's position as a major economic power. Senior Israeli officials and a wounded IDF veteran have appeared in a documentary on the Second Lebanon War for Hezbollah-affiliated station Al Mayadeen after being tricked by the Lebanese terror group into thinking they were being interviewed for the BBC and Italian television. Former Defense Minister Amir Peretz, former Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni, and Labour MK Eyal Ben Ruvain were interviewed by an Italian reporter, allegedly for the BBC. Reporter Michel Amoni insisted that he had been duped by the Palestinian producer who commissioned the report, telling him it was for the BBC and Al Jazeera. He refused to comment on accusations that he deliberately misled the officials by presenting himself as working on behalf of an Italian news agency. He added that he understood that he had been used and came out looking like a liar and now feared losing his job. The next 2 episodes of what happened in 2006 will be broadcast over the next 2 weeks on the Hezbollah television station. Retired Saudi General Anwar Eshki, who last month met senior Israeli officials and Knesset members in Jerusalem, is now denying any attempt to link his visit to an apparent normalizing of ties between the two countries. In an interview given yesterday to the Al Shams radio station, which broadcasts out of Nazareth, Eshki said he came to Israel under the invitation of the Palestinian Authority, particularly senior Fatah official Jibril Rajoub. He added that he arrived along with fellow researchers from the Middle East Institute, which he heads. During his 2-week trip, During his trip 2 weeks ago, Eshki met with the Foreign Ministry's Director General, Dori Gold, and Major General Yoav Mordechai, the coordinator of government activities in the territories. He also met a group of MKs in a bid to promote local dialogue on the Arab Peace Initiative. Eshki stressed his visit was an independent one, not under the auspices of the Saudi royal house. However, he said the trip was exploited to portray a warming of relations, which is totally not the case. Switching tracks now, if you've walked past Jerusalem International Convention Center recently, you may have wondered what progress is being made at the construction site for Jerusalem's new railway station. IBA's Eilon Eslin-Levy went underground, some 80 meters deep that is, and filed this report.
In 2018, Israel's first high-speed train is scheduled to leave Tel Aviv. It will chug along Israel's longest bridge, through its longest tunnel, and atop its tallest bridge, before reaching here, Jerusalem, at Israel's deepest station. Let's take a look. When the estimated budget of 7 billion shekels has been spent, this construction site outside the International Convention Center will be Jerusalem's new railway station. Passengers will enter this central area from 4 entrances, 2 on Yafo and 2 on Shazar, with one entrance right on the light rail platform. They'll then head down these escalators to the ticket barriers. Darting into one of 3 enormous elevators which can fit 33 passengers each, they'll travel 70 meters underground in 25 seconds. I'm taking the workman's lift instead. When this project goes live, a high-speed train will be able to leave here and hurtle towards Tel Aviv at 160 kilometers per hour in 28 minutes flat and reaching all stations to Herzliya. The train will also reach Ben Gurion Airport in 20 minutes.
I'm 70 meters underground and astonishingly I have perfect signal.
With 4 trains an hour at peak times carrying 1,000 people each, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem will practically be transformed into suburbs of each other.
This is the passengers platform, and then you want to know, okay, so where's the train? What we're going to see the whole way through here are shops, cafes, so on, and the people wait here. The benches are here. Where's the train? The train is or to my right or to my left. We have 3 exits, which we go down to the train. This, with one of the biggest and most complex train stations ever built in the world. We're talking about one of the largest and most complex infrastructure projects in Israel in all times, especially in these days.
Since the Second Temple.
Close.
On a normal day, the main passenger concourse will be buzzing with shops and cafes. But during times of emergency...
So we just passed through 2 very heavy metal doors. Is this the fabled nuclear bunker?
So what interesting way of putting it, this is a very safe area. We are 70 meters below road level, so definitely this is a safe area.
So in times of emergency, how many people can fit here?
Talking about thousands.
Down to the platform.
What we see here is actually we have the 2 platforms, we have the stairs, we have the light fittings, we have the walls up, we have the air conditioning and the whole air circulation.
This is actually happening.
This is it. The Jerusalemites have no idea what's going on under their feet. This is it. It's happening, and we're almost ready to go.
The new station includes 4 platforms, each 320 meters long. In future, trains will also leave for other parts of the country, such as Modi'in.
So this is where the train from Tel Aviv arrives?
Well, actually, that's a very interesting fact. One of the only heritages we left from the British Mandate was the train system. The trains stick to the right, they drive to the right, opposite from the cars in Israel. So actually, what we're going to see are the trains coming in from Tel Aviv. They will be coming in actually on my right, and the trains going out to Tel Aviv will be taking us from the left.
Where are the train tracks?
Train tracks. Good point. We can't bring in the train before the tracks. But the train tracks are the last thing we put down. This will be one of the first places in Israel where we will use what's called slab tracks. Slab tracks are actually big pieces of cement, which the tracks are already built into the cement itself. It is not logs and small rocks like we're used to see today.
Like a first world country.
It's about time.
Time to go. Now how do I get out of here? I guess this is where the massive new escalators will go. Israel Railways is adamant that the project will open on time. So year after next in Jerusalem then.
Attention all passengers. The train to Ben Gurion Airport will leave from platform number 2. Thank you and have a pleasant journey.
Elon Aslan-Lifi for IBA News.
Workers of Israel's Yisrael Disaster Relief and Rescue Organization operating in Berlin were treated to a rare gesture this week. The group, along with refugees from Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, were given a private show Monday night by legendary English rocker Sting. The renowned musician heard of Israel's work across Europe and decided to give them an exclusive concert before the start of a sold-out show at Berlin's 23,000-seat stadium. The Israeli nonprofit organization lauded the artist and his band for the motivational gesture, saying that Sting even took time to talk and get to know them. Israel's staff and volunteers in Berlin work to provide refugees from the Middle East with humanitarian assistance and with the process of integration into German society. The 16th Israel International Animix Festival of Animation, Comics, and Caricatures kicked off last night at the Tel Aviv Cinematheque. The yearly event features a colorful and diverse lineup of both classic and modern animation films that are suitable for the entire family. Special guest at this year's festival is Mike Reiss, the writer and producer of the acclaimed animated series The Simpsons. The nation's most famous animators will share their know-how in a series of workshops, exhibitions, and shoe comics markets that are all open to the public. Both children and adults can give their creative skills a shot under the watchful eyes of the experts. That's Animix at the Tel Aviv Cinematheque, running now until Saturday, the 6th of August. In local money matters, shares were mixed on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. While the shekel was down in foreign currency trading, here are the numbers.